Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It's me, Joey P. Joe Pisapia. With me today is Derek Brown, and we are talking about Thursday Night Football. Yes, another quintessential gem of a game on Thursday night. The Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. Who will play quarterback for the Panthers? God only knows. Derek Brown and I are going to break it all down for you. And D-Bro, when we're looking ahead here, obviously, at this game. The Atlanta Falcons, as much as I might laugh and scoff at it, and I did earlier on a live stream on Fantasy Pros today, they have an outside shot of kind of sneaking in the playoffs. They kind of do. You look at the rest of the schedule for them. If this team just, quote unquote, handles their business, well, they just might be able to backdoor their way into things the way that some of the other teams have played so far this year. I mean, it kind of feels like that's open, but this is one of those games the Atlanta Falcons have to handle their business, Derek Brown.
I think they can, Joe, and not to toot the own proverbial horn, but a few different weeks ago I said to bet the Falcons to win the division. Doesn't sound so crazy to a lot of people now. Sounded crazy then, but here we are, Joe. But yes, you're right. We have another high total barn burner game, which is probably not going to be a bad thing if you take the unders on PJ Walker's second half props, because we don't even know by the second half if he's going to even be playing quarterback. So here we are.
We don't. We certainly don't. All right, let's take a look here at the tail of the tape here. So the Falcons are road 2.5-point favorites at minus 115 on Betting Pros. Now, I'm not somebody who likes to take road favorites necessarily on Thursday Night Football on the short week. Carolina is that much of a mess. If I'm going to lean anywhere in this game, I'm going there. I'm not mucking around with the total at 41.5. It's not a. It's a very weird number considering where these two offenses might be and where these two defenses might be too, because let's keep in mind, you have no AJ Terrell. You have a secondary for Atlanta that hasn't played very well. You have at times a Carolina backfield that's looked pretty good and other times not looked very good. And a defense that hasn't looked great all the time either for Carolina. So the 41.5 is in danger. In fact, if you ask me, I'd probably lean towards the over because I feel like everybody wants to go the under on this game and that's just the easy thing to do. But we often learn that the easy is not always the correct when it comes to wagering. So I'm still going to lean towards the Atlanta side of this game. If you like Carolina for the upset, it's plus 130. But to me, that's the way you make money on this game is just bet Carolina outright at the plus 130. Don't do it at a huge number. And that's how you make money on this game tonight. That is probably the only way to make money on any of these numbers tonight. So if you're not going to stay away, bet Carolina at the plus 130 because that's where you're getting the money. And if we learned anything from the home dogs in week 9 is the home dogs show up to play at home.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree, Joe. I mean, like, we were talking about this pre-show, and I was like, the spread's close, total's low. If you want to lean one side, I'd take the over on the total. But again, I'm staying away. I'm with you on this one. We're hand-holding, man. If I'm betting anything for it, we're going to go with the plus money and take the Panthers at home.
All right. As I mentioned, AJ Terrell is going to be out for this one. Looking at the Carolina Panthers, they also have Chuba Hubbard, who's listed as questionable still. Now, we haven't gotten any word on him quite yet. Keep an eye out, or you could just download the Fantasy Pros News Desk app to stay on top of that one. But look, it feels like, PJ Walker's going to get the start. We know that Sam Darnold is now active too. Baker Mayfield is looming there as well. So many variables in this game makes it very dangerous. And I still say that, the best thing you can do is just take Carolina at home as the underdog and make some money there, but take them on the money line because the minus 105 and the 2.5, it's not exciting. So you might as well just go all in on it if you're going to and hope that it works out. All right, let's get to some of the individual props here. And of course, if you want to look at props, you can always check out the prop bet cheat sheet at bettingpros.com. Now, D-Bro, take me through some of the ones that you like. I know we've just did a Fantasy Pros pod together. We talked about this player. Let's talk about Terrace Marshall, 34.5 receiving yards. You like the over. You got a FanDuel at minus 110. Let's talk about it.
I mean, he's been getting a ton of targets, Joe, and we've already seen him versus his secondary once. He went for 87 yards. He's hit the over in each of his last 2 games. We know he's going to play full-time snaps. Regardless of the quarterback play or who is going to be under center in this one, PJ Walker or who have you, we know Terrace Marshall is going to sniff like 7+ targets in this game. So against a secondary that's been beat up, they're running out guys that can barely cover anyone. I'll take the over for it. And I get we're not getting plus odds in this. That's fine. But if I'm building parlays in this, this is probably the first place I'm starting.
It's a good spot. It's a low number. I mean, the 34 and a
Yep.
half seems like very
I was
attainable
surprised
to
it was
me.
that low. Our projections
Yeah.
at Betting Pros have him at 39.5 too.
Now, this one here, you've got Kyle Pitts with the over 35 and a half at minus 110. This one I struggle with because, well, it's Kyle Pitts. And I think we've all understood that at a certain point, Kyle Pitts has been the definition of struggle bus, I feel like. If you look at the game log for him, last week, just 27 yards, the week before, 80. And that was the last time they played Carolina. So is that what's baking in for this number for you? Is last time Carolina's where this dog ate?
I mean, you look at his usage, Joe. He led the NFL in air yards, and I understand it's more prayer yards, and I get he didn't convert on it. But this comes down to the fact of this is a low number for receiving yards. If he catches one or two of those deep targets, he's hitting the over. So this is not so much me betting on volume for Kyle Pitts. It's been the downfield shots that Atlanta is willing to take. It's also the fact that you look at the Carolina Panthers, and they can be had by opposing tight ends. They're bottom 10 in DVOA versus the position, and Pitts has been getting, and I know it's not a high passing volume offense, Joe, I get that, but he has been the one getting the higher target share and producing with it for the last few weeks. So I'll take the over for Pitts here.
Next one on the docket, CPAT, Cordero Patterson, 55 and a half receiving yards, minus 110. It's a pretty hefty number, but you're going over on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the over on Cordell Patterson's rushing yards here. I mean, looking at what he did last week, I mean, he got 44 on the ground in...
Oh, it's the rushing yards, just to be clear,
Yeah.
not receiving yards. I said receiving. My apologies. No wonder why I didn't
Oh,
like it.
sorry, because you know what? And that's why.
Because you wrote receiving yards.
I wrote receiving yards. So
in all
excuse
fairness,
me.
you pull the curtain behind
I'm
here.
sorry,
Ron
Ron
Burgundy.
Burgundy. That's my fault. That's my fault.
Receiving
I will-
yards?
I was waiting. If you weren't going to do it, I was going to do it. But I will take the over for his rushing yards here. And what we saw for Cordero Patterson last week, 39% of the snaps, I think they were trying to ease him in. I think you could see a higher snap rate for Patterson in this game. And if that's the case, if he goes back to what we saw in weeks 1 and 2, where he's playing 59% or higher snaps, he's going to flirt with possibly 18 to 20 carries in this game. And we know, I mean, good Lord, Joe Mixon has not been good for the entirety of the season, but Panthers made him look like a Hall of Famer last week. So Patterson can get it done.
All right, last one here. Tommy Tremble, 1.5 receiving yards, plus 114 or a FanDuel. You're getting plus money on the over here. You like this one?
Yeah, plus money on it, man. It's one of the few props that you can actually, and we talk about this, Joe, all the time, these ugly tertiary props that are so low that we're like, okay, you need 2 catches. Come on, hit. Well, guess what? Tommy Tremble has gotten 4 targets in each of the last 2 games, and he's had 2 receptions in back-to-back games. He's been playing, his snaps have creeped up. He's been somewhere in the neighborhood of like 55 to 64% of snaps. Again, Atlanta is not good versus the tight end. This is a low bar to hit. I think Tommy Tremble can, again, snag 2 balls in this game and hit the over at plus money. I'll take it.
My favorite bet, and I would just bet this and bet it big and then move along with my life in this game, is the Cordero Patterson minus 105 anytime touchdown score. It should be more like minus 120 or something like that. It should be a lot more. This you can get over FanDuel right now at minus 105. The way that they use him, the way he looked so strong around the goal line last week, this is absolutely one that I would smash. And again, sometimes, we talk about, the parlays and the things like that, and that's how to burn your money up. Well, this is a way to make money. You take a larger investment and you put it in Cordero Patterson at the minus 105, and then you come out positive at the end of the day, because I'm not saying it's a lock, because nothing in football is a lock. But I think of all the bets on the board, of all the props and all the things, I'd rather just put Patterson to score a touchdown at minus 105 on FanDuel and then walk away from this game. Or if you want to try to make some money, you can do it on the money line on the Carolina Panthers, because, again, that's the only plus money you're really getting in a lot of these things in a lot of these markets. I want to talk to you about D'Onta Foreman, because he is at 54.5 rushing yards. Projections have him at 65.7. I know with Chuba Hubbard coming back, there's a lot of fear in the marketplace. Is this one that maybe it behooves you to go ahead and go bet the over and hope that Chuba really can't go and lock it in there? Because it feels like that's at BetMGM kind of what I would like to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, when we brought it up at the very top of the show about Chuba Hubbard playing and looking at how the Panthers offense could run, I think right now Chuba Hubbard is questionable. you can get these lines and they're depressed because the projections are Chuba Hubbard is playing. If for some reason we get a late game time call, he is either out or he goes out in the middle of the game because he's not 100%, he's not practicing in full, and this can definitely happen. These lines are being baked in and the projections are that they're going to split the work. That's how I'm looking at the game. But the other side of this, Joe, is that might not be how it's going to go. They could lean on Foreman heavily. Again, if we're talking about, and you can marry these things together, okay? If we're talking about betting the Panthers money line, team that with these Foreman overs, because you're talking about he's a game script backed. If they're in positive game scripts, he'll get more work. I have one more prop I could interest you in, Joe.
Oh, I've got one.
Okay. Do you want me to go first? Or you go first. Who talks first?
Well, if it has to do with a quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, then it's the rushing of Marcus Mariota at 29
same player, but different.
See, 29.5, if you look at what he's done, he has hit this 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the last 5 games. He's hit this number. And in a matchup against Carolina, I imagine he's going to hit this again. So 29.5, you can get over at minus 114 at Unibet. To me, that's another one where I feel very good. Like, that's a good investment. This is a game that you stay away from the game itself and you go to the individuals, because the game itself has a lot. When you see a game that has 4 outcomes, you run away from it in the betting market. And this game has 4 outcomes written all over it. But for me, I look at Mariota, I look at Cordell Patterson. Those are some things you can control because you know who the Falcons are, because they've told you for months now who they are. They're a team that's going to run the football.
All right. Well, can I interest you in the over for Marcus Mariota to throw a pick? The over 0.5 interceptions, considering he's thrown one in half of his last 8 games, and you can get plus odds at this. It is anywhere from plus 130 at Bet Rivers all the way up to plus 145 at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yeah, at DK at the plus 145, you can interest me. Yeah, because that's a lot of that's a good number. Plus 145 agreed. There on that is a very good number. I think you could take that one too as well.
He's got out of this last 8 games.
Well, he's predictable. Mariota's predictable. Yep. He is not spectacular. He's not special, but he's predictable, and that's a good thing for the betting market. That's a good thing for this game, because this game is very unpredictable.
I was surprised this was actually a plus odds, considering in the last 8 games, 1, he's thrown a pick in half of those games, and 2, in 2 of those games, he's thrown multiple picks. So, I mean, come on, Joe. I don't really have to twist your arm too much to sit here and get you to bet props that Mariota screws up, right?
Nope. And look, if you want to take some of these things that we like a lot, that we feel very good about, and you want to put 3 of them together, no more than 3, into a parlay, that's fine. But just put a small number on it. Like, don't put a huge unit on it. Put a bigger unit on the Cordell Patterson anytime touchdown one, because that is such a strong likelihood of happening here with the way they used him, the way he looked last week, and the way that the Falcons run their offense. And they're just very clear about what they are. So we'll see who shows up. We'll see if Carolina shows up to defend their home and defend their house tonight on Thursday Night Football. I know you all are waiting with bated breath. At least betting makes it a little more fun. Of course, you can head over to bettingpros.com to check out all of our content. And don't forget, too, to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Betting Pros, too. Ever growing is the channel. We do all these live streams here for NFL, for CFB, for all kinds of fun stuff. So check it out, subscribe, and click that little bell till it goes ding for the notifications. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Derek Brown, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.